The Somerville High School auditorium was the site of Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey's post-election town hall. Over 600 community members from Somerville, Cambridge, Boston, and beyond were in attendance. Many of Somerville's own elected officials were also there. SCAT TV covered the event and had the opportunity to catch up with the Attorney General prior to her taking the stage.
I'm not surprised that the president has tried once again to resurrect an already failed and discredited policy. Look, this was a policy that he put out a few weeks ago. We challenged him in court. We won. The court said that it was going to be unconstitutional, and basically Trump and his lawyers admitted defeat. I'm sorry that they've come back and attempted a second go at this. I want you to know my office is carefully reviewing the executive order. I have no further comment on it at this time, but we're looking at it closely, and I'll be prepared to take whatever action is necessary should I think it is, if it is in the interests of Massachusetts residents, the businesses, and others who we're here to advocate for.
One more question for you, Attorney General, that the Supreme Court has now bounced back to the local courts, the issue of the transgender bathroom. Can you have any comment on that?
Well, this wasn't a surprising development because one of the issues at issue in that case was what was the President Obama's executive order. Now that President Trump has rescinded that, it takes that issue off the table. It is still a matter to be litigated, and the question of Title IX and its applicability is to be litigated now, returning to the lower courts. My office will continue to stay involved in this matter. We joined with other states in support of the student. As you saw, not only did states join, but so many businesses from across the country filed briefs in support of the student's position. And in the meantime, we're going to do everything we can to protect the rights of transgender students and people here in Massachusetts, because we have a law in place that does just that.
Do you think there's any chance this revised ban will wind up in court yet again?
This is what we're reviewing. We're going to take a close look at it. We've been looking at it throughout the course of the day and considering potential implications and what the impact of this order might be. But we'll take whatever action is appropriate and necessary and leave all options on the table at this point. I mean, it is unfortunate that the president continues to focus on this as an issue. He created a tremendous amount of chaos a few weeks ago. He hurt a lot of people and inspired a lot of fear and anxiety in immigrant communities all over our state and across this country. Certainly from a law enforcement and public safety perspective, the earlier executive order was counter to public safety, actually undermined the work that we need to do in law enforcement. So we're going to talk to others on the ground here in Massachusetts. I'll certainly be in touch with local law enforcement on this issue, immigrant communities, advocacy organizations, and again, our businesses, our colleges and universities, and our major teaching hospitals and others who were really at the table in denouncing the president's order a few weeks ago because of the devastating impact it was going to have on not only families and individuals, but on big drivers of our economy here in Massachusetts. So we'll be to you with further information soon about this, but I just am saddened and disheartened that, again, as a matter of priority, this is the president making good on campaign promises, and many of those campaign promises raise serious constitutional issues. We challenged him before, we won, and we'll be prepared to act in the future if we think that's necessary and in the interests of people here in Massachusetts.
During her remarks, Attorney General Healey spoke to issues such as the federal travel ban, sanctuary city status, transgender rights, gun control, discrimination, healthcare, and a wide range of other topics.
I have been so inspired by people's engagement and their enthusiasm and their energy, and that is what is going to be needed in the days and the weeks and the many months ahead. It's been an exhausting 6 weeks, I know, for many people, and the news just comes out each day and leads one to scratch their heads. President Trump was a chaos candidate. Let's face it, it's not a surprise that he is a chaos president. I don't expect that to change, unfortunately. No matter what he says, no matter what he tweets, no matter how early he chooses to unleash one conspiracy theory after another, I want you to know that we are going to continue to press to keep people's eyes focused on the damage that he's doing and the harm that he is causing across this country. As I said, he's making good on outrageous promises that he made during the course of the campaign, whether it was the latest on the executive order around immigration and the travel ban, building a wall, denigrating the independence of our judiciary, denigrating the acts of others in government, ripping apart the environmental protection agencies and any progress we've made in combating climate change. You name it, day after day. I know it has been disheartening and distressing to so many of us. Now, people are asking, how can we move forward? How can we move forward in this time? I want you to know your voices and your work and your speaking up matter more than ever. I've seen it happen already. I've seen what's happened when people have made calls to Congress, and some of the votes and the positions taken by some of the members of the United States Senate. Now, ultimately, we didn't get enough votes in certain places, but you did see response. How about those town halls that are taking place all across this country? Isn't that something? That kind of engagement, that kind of activism, that kind of speaking out is so, so important. It matters. Remember what seems like a lifetime ago when the House Republicans were going to undo that rule around government ethics? Do you remember that? I know it seems like forever ago. You remember what happened? Remember the outrage? Remember the outcry by Democrats and Republicans around this country? Remember that? And they took that off the table. It's that kind of activism, that kind of voice, your voices, that matter more than ever. You've set record calls when it comes to calls to Congress. We have seen rallies and movements and protests and gatherings happening all across this country, in towns large, in towns small, in our big urban centers, you name it. That has been fantastic. I don't think that this election was a rejection of core values. I do not believe for a minute that the majority of Americans voted to repeal and reverse Roe v. Wade. I don't believe that the majority of Americans voted to do away with health care for 20 million Americans. I don't believe that the majority of Americans support ending efforts to combat climate change or voted in support of a complete rollback of the necessary reforms that were placed on Wall Street following the terrible meltdown and recession in 2008. I just don't believe that. And I hope you don't either. And I hope you get up every day and remind people of your values and your principles and what you think actually makes for a prosperous, free America. What makes for better communities, healthier communities, and just better off folks, not just here in Massachusetts, but all across this country. I just want you to remember that this election was very close, and I'm not even going to get into the popular vote. But I will tell you that I think it's worth reminding ourselves each and every day that this election was certainly not a mandate for Donald Trump. But if anything, to me, use it as a reminder that the majority of Americans still believe in many of the things that you all believe in this room.
For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Joe Lynch.